Hi. How are
Good
you?
evening, sir.
Good evening. I just sent a message. Sorry, I can't. I don't speak any Tamil. So
Okay. It's not an issue. It's not an issue. Uh,
okay.
See, actually, why I asked you to conduct this interview at Tamil? In morning, I saw one our interview in Tamil magazine from Sri Lanka.
Oh yes. So I mean, I do. Uh, I do a fair amount of interviews with the Indian the newspapers,
Okay,
uh, and especially the ones from the Tamil Nadu, because we certainly need to reach out and then change the
right.
mindset, and I think the only way we can change the mindset is through communication.
Yes. I understand. Because I saw that some headings in Tamil, maybe they translated to Tamil. I think I thought.
Yeah.
Okay. And anyway, you are very familiar with our channel viewers. Earlier, we had one a special interview with you at the time of, I think, 2, 3 months back, if I'm not wrong.
Is
Uh,
the NDTV, not what's your channel?
yes, Tamilagam Times
Oh,
YouTube
yes,
channel.
yes. So shall we start?
Yeah, I can view.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, we can start. We can start.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, welcome to our channel again.
If you have me,
Yeah. Yes, I'm hearing you, sir.
can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm getting you, sir.
Okay.
Yeah. Welcome to our channel.
Thank you.
So, the Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs of Sri Lanka, Mr. Balasooriya. So, you are
I'm
welcome to our channel, sir.
I'm the
Um,
State Minister of the Foreign
yeah,
Affairs.
seems to be how is our country now? As I hope it is wealthy and the environment, the ground reality is now nice. I think so.
The ground reality.
Yeah,
I
I
didn't,
think.
I didn't,
Are you getting me?
yeah, it's not that clear, but go ahead. Tell me. I didn't quite hear your question.
Okay. Now you are getting me, sir.
Yeah.
Okay.
Uh,
So, first of all, our congratulations to your new appointed as a foreign affairs minister. And again, we wish to know about the what's the real status in Sri Lanka.
Okay. Well, actually, I'm the state minister of foreign affairs, not the foreign affairs minister.
Okay.
But thank you for your wishes. Uh, I think with the election of the new president, we are going through a period of stabilization.
Okay.
That is very important. When president took over, we saw there was queues, there was petrol queues, diesel queues. We didn't have enough medicine. There were power cuts for about 12 hours, 14 hours. Now there is some sort of form of rationing of the fuel, but we have somehow developed a homegrown queue management system that we don't see such prominent queues, and also the president is embarking on a very ambitious political reforms, and he has spelled out the reforms which he wants to bring about, and also economic reforms. So most of the general population uh, will be, I feel, that will be supportive of these reforms which the president will bring. Particularly if you look at our history, I think we have been living beyond our means for a long period of time. We have not had fiscal responsibility. The fiscal consolidation has not taken place. Our tax revenues as a percentage of GDP is about 8%. In the early 1980s, it was about 30%. So we have to look at the macroeconomic fundamentals and see where we have gone wrong, and we need to uh, bring these changes about. And also other reforms which I think the president will want to make are the reforms in the public sector, the reforms in the state-owned enterprises, and also I think very importantly, these economic reforms and the political reforms has to come hand in hand. So I also feel that there will be political reforms which will be forthcoming in the near future.
Yes, very very happy to listen this news that reformation is going on in Sri Lanka. Shall I ask one question about your UN Human Rights Association of UN, United
Yeah.
Nations Human Rights Organization?
Yeah.
They are bringing one issue, the Geneva issue.
Yeah.
How you think about it? How this is going to make the major impact on Sri Lanka?
I mean, I am of the opinion. I think that yeah, the Human Rights Council is highly politicized. If you look at some of the voting patterns of the Human Rights Council, we see a North-South divide, and then we see that countries uh, voting more on not on the merits of the case, but rather on certain alliances which they have built through time. And also, I think that the some of the procedural issues with the Human Rights Council certainly needs to be relooked at. I think India has, more than on one occasion, you know, spoken about the procedural issues. I think this time also our ambassador has raised about the right to reply and giving the same prominence for the reply. We have brought that to the notice of the Human Rights Council. So there are issues with the Human Rights Council, and I think we need to relook at and maybe revamp the Human Rights Council. The international community needs to work to that, but also the Human Rights Council does a lot of good work, and sometimes we also have to question whether the mandate of the human rights the council is whether that's in line with the the power it was created by the United Nations, and the power which was with which it was created. So we have to see whether they are operating within the mandate of the Human Rights Council. But all in all, I think the each country has to make a concrete efforts to improve their human rights, not because of the Human Rights Council, not because someone else is saying that you need to improve your human rights. Certainly, because as a civilized nation, that human rights plays a very prominent role. So, and it's an ongoing process. It's not there's no end goal. It's not that we can we can become the best human rights protecting country in the world and say that we are quite happy with it. So even we have seen in countries like US the Black Lives Matter and Me Too movement and so many other prominent issues being brought forward. So I think we all need to work. All need to work in order to bring improve our human rights, but also we have to understand different cultures. Sometimes there can be a Western bias towards how things are looked at in let's say this part of Asia. So all in all, I think the government of Ranil Wickremesinghe is very interested in working closely with the human rights. With even the previous government worked very closely with the Human Rights Council, and whatever the deficiencies which we have, we are willing to work towards that. And a good example is that the last government changed the Prevention of Terrorism Act, the PTA, and we said that we are not going to stop there. We are going to bring a new act in line with the international norms. So certainly, I think that the current government will be carefully but aggressively pursuing some of these changes.
Do you think that it is severe challenges, challenge to meet such a Geneva issue, because the number of countries which is supporting the Geneva issue is increasing now. Number of countries that we supporting. So it is going to give some tough challenges to Sri Lanka.
Actually, if if you look at the council, the voting patterns, the number of countries which has supported the resolutions has actually decreased. The number of abstained countries which have remained abstained has increased. So what I see is that maybe because certain countries can't say no to certain superpowers, they would rather abstain than voting in favor of the resolution. Um, but if you that's only out of the voting members of the council. But if you look at large number of countries who have made representation on the people on behalf of Sri Lanka, now that number has been increasing, the numbers who have spoken on behalf of Sri Lanka. And also some of the countries, I think it's very important to note that some of the countries who have voted against Sri Lanka also, the statements, if you look at it, the statements have certain merits about the conduct of the Sri Lankan government. So all in all, I think we can't say that the number against Sri Lanka has been increasing. In actuality, it's the number of abstain votes we have seen an increase in the number of abstainees.
It's okay. So I saw your interview with your local magazine, Tamil magazine, and I found the positive attitude and positive replies in that magazine regarding one thing. That is north and east province of Sri Lanka, especially the Tamilians. What about your opinion to share your federal setup to give the equal opportunities to Tamilians in job and the political issues? What about your opinion there?
Okay, I will. I think certainly that we should look at a more meaningful power devolution. Now, whether it's, I don't want to be set in words saying that federalism or no federalism. I think the issue with federalism is that even, for example, even in India, although it's a federal state, you have a very powerful center. So the center can take control of. The president has the power to revoke any laws which will, let's say, which will separate the union. So I think that when we look at laws, we need to ensure that that there'll be one Sri Lanka. And I also think that it's not just federalism. I don't think it's a question of resorting to federalism. I think we also need to look even beyond that, saying that we need to share power at the center too, not only at the periphery. So in order for the Tamils and the Muslims to feel part of this country, the power should be shared not only in the periphery but also in the center. But also power should be shared in a meaningful way, in the sense that we should. I think the previous government, the Yapana government, they wanted to use the principle of subsidiarity in devolving power. But I would think that maybe looking at things from a principle of efficiency is probably the more better way to go. Because what governments are now trying to do is make sure that the government mechanism becomes more and more efficient, just like in the private sector.
Okay, yes, I understand. As a State Minister of Foreign Affairs, I used to ask one more question that in future, according to your current economical condition and political conditions, do you think that the other countries, international pressure on Sri Lanka will increase in future in another 10 years or 20 years?
Well, I mean, I don't. I see it. I see it in a more of a long-term perspective. In the sense, what we are seeing is that there's a shift in the power from the West to Asia, and history has always shown that when, let's say, the most powerful country is challenged by the second most powerful country, that usually it escalates to war.
Yes.
Undoubtedly, the China and India will be major economic powers in the years to come. And as a result of that, there will be more international pressure. If you even look at the before the Ukraine war, the U.S. forces, international forces, earlier they were majority of them were in Europe, but now the majority of them are in Asia, the overseas forces. So I think with the change in the international order, there will be certainly more activity, not only in Sri Lanka but also in the Asian countries. As a result, we'll have to have to face more international pressure, and it's all the more reason that why let's say the countries in a region, the regional countries, should at least when it comes to the foreign policy, adopt a similar foreign policy. And to that extent, I think the if you look at the Sri Lankan foreign policy and the Indian foreign policy, it has taken very similar views on international issues. Not only the Sri Lankan and the Indian foreign policy, but even Indian and the Pakistani foreign policy, they have taken fairly similar views on certain international issues. So I think it's a good thing, and I think certainly that we need to as much as we need to look at things individually, because of what you said, because of more international pressure, we also need to look at things regionally and collectively.
Yeah, of course. Also, I spoke to some businessmen and industrialists in Jaffna. It's not the port of Sri Lanka. They said they required some autonomous power to import the things directly to Jaffna instead of going to Colombo and again it transit to Jaffna. Then they need some autonomous power to import the things to Jaffna. Is it possible as a Minister of Trade also? I think so. You are looking your trade also coming under your ministry, right?
Trade is a separate ministry. Yeah, but go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. So that the industrialists and other leading businessmen, they are seeking some autonomous power to Jaffna to import the things, import the needful and necessary commodities to directly import to Jaffna. Is it possible?
With the legal structure which we have with our constitution, we cannot have any autonomous power only for Jaffna. But certainly we need to increase our trade with India. We need to relook at for example, our free trade agreement. And if you look at even the India's growth, I would think that the southern states, the southern 5 states, are the engine of growth in the Indian economy. So we need to align ourselves with the the southern states, and certainly we need to develop the ports in the Jaffna Peninsula, so there will be more direct trade between Jaffna and the southern Indian states. And also, I think if you look at India has opened FTAs. They have signed an FTA with Australia, with UK, and then I think India within the next few years will be aggressively sign FTAs with other countries. So I feel that we need to relook at the FTA, our FTA with India, so that the Sri Lankan businessmen can. It will take us some time to say, for example, to sign an FTA with England. It might take us. Usually FTAs take at least about 5-10 years to get an agreement done. So I think perhaps we need to relook at our the FTA with India, so that our businessmen can use the opportunity which has been created by India by signing these FTAs.
நீங்க நம்ம போன தலைமுறையோட வாழ்வின் முறையை பற்றி என்ன நினைக்கிறீங்க?
அவங்கள நாம என்னைக்குமே பெருமையா நினைக்கணும்.
அவங்க வாழ்ந்த முறை, அவங்க ஆரோக்கியம், ஒரு நல்ல ஆரோக்கியமான வாழ்க்கையை வாழ்ந்திருக்காங்க.
அவங்க சமையல், அந்த காலத்து சாப்பாடு,
சொல்ல போனா 100 வயசுக்கு மேலயும் ஆரோக்கியமா வாழ்ந்தவங்களா இருந்திருக்காங்க.
அதே ஆரோக்கியத்தை நாம நம்ம தலைமுறைக்கு கொடுக்கறோமா?
இல்ல, டெஃபினட்டா இல்ல.
மாறணும், கண்டிப்பா மாறணும்.
உதயா cold pressed edible oils, value for good health.
So, is there any foreign, as a Minister of Foreign Affairs, is there any special assignment to make a good relationship with your neighbor countries and other international countries to develop your economy and other political affairs? Is there any special assignment?
I mean, we have excellent relationship with India and our neighbors, all of the South Asian countries, and our neighbors, particularly India and the other countries, have come into our assistance during the hour of need. So we are very thankful and grateful that you all have stood by Sri Lanka. Yes. What the best thing which we can do to attract investments is businesses come if they can make money. I think so. What we need to do is make sure that the foundation is there, that there's macroeconomic stability in Sri Lanka, and then whatever the other necessary things for the businesses to thrive, such as, let's say, the labor regulations and also energy cost, things such as that, which support businesses. We need to work on those things, and I think if we can get those things, the other factors going in the correct direction, investments will come to Sri Lanka. And also I think we can Sri Lanka is also can be looked at as a place to step into India. So I think there's a lot of opportunity for trade in Sri Lanka.
Is there, so our Indian investors, especially from our capital, commercial capital of India is Mumbai, and the north states of India. So the investors, if they are ready to come to Sri Lanka, so what is there any procedures or anything, any special zone, anything is there for our Indian investors?
Yeah, we don't have a particular zone only for the Indian investors, but we have many free trade FTA, the investment BOI zones, or Board of Investment zones. So certainly through the Board of Investments, the Indian businesses can look at opportunities in Sri Lanka. So I think we have a few special economic zones. We have one special economic zones for 3 special economic zones only for pharmaceuticals. So certainly I think Indian companies can take advantage of the Sri Lanka.
So is there it's a heart of the question is from my heart. Especially the Indian fisheries. I'm not saying the Tamil fisheries, especially from Rameswaram, right? Yeah. It's very near to our coastal area of Sri Lanka. So nowadays it's comparatively nowadays they are safe. Indian fisheries are safe, and still it is a continuing our clash between the Indian fisheries and Sri Lankan Navy. Is there any long-term view or long-term solution for that?
Well, I hope so. I mean, I was reading some time back in the 1950s when Nehru came to Sri Lanka. So one of the major issues which they discussed that was perhaps 70 years ago was this fisherman issue. Okay, so it's a prevailing condition, but I think yes, what I think what the India should also realize is the most of the people who are affected by this are the Tamil brothers in north and east. And if you look at a satellite map or something, you will see that it's not just like 5-10 boats which come to and fish in the Sri Lankan waters. It's thousands of boats. It's like 5,000, 10,000 boats which comes and fishes in the Sri Lankan waters. Some of them also come quite close to the Sri Lankan coast. So what it does is, of course, the Tamils have been the most affected people during the war. They've been affected by the war for a period of 30 years. So it directly affects their livelihood. Yes, I also understand that the Indian fishermen, they are only trying to support their families. It's a very sensitive issue, but I think that certainly the Indian government at the center and also the Tamil Nadu government should help Sri Lanka resolve this issue, because otherwise maybe in another 50 years time, when we have diplomatic meetings, we'll still be talking about the same issue, and it will only affect the fishing community in Sri Lanka, who have already been deprived 30 years of 30 years due to the war. So I think otherwise the hardships will tend to continue.
Yeah. So diplomat meetings and meetings between the foreign ministers and prime ministers and presidents, it's all going on. As you said, it's the last more than 50 years it's going on. But is there any technical solutions, positive solutions to resolve this issue? Because it's a very big issue in especially the border of Tamil Nadu fisheries. So do you have any technical parameters to prevent this clash between Sri Lankan Navy and Indian fisheries?
I mean, we can propose so many, technical solutions, and I think it will be unwise to propose any technical solutions to India, because India is the technology capital in the world. So easily, we can have some mechanism where you have GPS and then see if these boats are going over and beyond a certain or going to the Sri Lankan waters. So I think it's certainly technological solution can be easily adapted, but both sides will also have to have political will to implement that, because we need to see, let's say you have a technique, then how do you enforce it? Certainly the Sri Lankan Navy is not equipped to certainly to ensure that 5,000 boats to control 5,000 boats. So how do we implement that? Now, if you are a poor fisherman from let's say Tamil Nadu, who has to go to sea every day to support your family, then from your point of view, you're not very much bothered about the international borders, but your main objective would be to ensure that that you catch enough fish to so that you can support your family. So in instances like that, that's where I think that the government support for the fishermen is needed. So I would think that what's really needed is concrete political will to solve this solution.
I positively hope on your words that this issue will resolve at the time of your ministry when you are the Minister of Foreign Affairs. It is my positive hopes, because as a next generation politicians came to this thing. And moreover, when I visited to Sri Lanka, nearby one temple, I couldn't able to remember the temple name, but it's near to Nedumdivu, right? I spoke to one Sri Lankan fisheries. I spoke to him. And he said that, so the Indian fisheries need not to cross the border and come to our seashore and catch the fisheries. Not required. If they're required, we can ready to supply the special type of fisheries to Indian fishermen. It's very we can make the trade links. Do you think that it is work out? Because need not to come across the border and catch the fish. Not required. If the Sri Lankan fisher is ready to sell the fishes which they're in stock. So is it the trade opinion is suitable for your this issue?
Well, I haven't seen any, I haven't seen any proposal of what you're suggesting, but it's certainly, we are willing to explore all these possibilities, if such a proposal is provided.
Okay. Yeah. It's so when this is a statement from the local fisheries nearby Nadindeep. So apart from these fisheries, I know the natural resources spread out all over Sri Lanka. So when I visited there in Sri Lanka, that time that I hope that to development of with the national resources, your national resources, we can start the business and other things. So shall we get the lease ground for lease to make cultivation and agri forms?
Yes, I think yes, we do give out give out land for agricultural purposes, but there's also land issue in Sri Lanka. So what we really would like is that if you bringing some technology, let's say maybe vertical farming or some new technology into Sri Lanka, certainly we can look at the agricultural sector. But it's not. I don't want to limit it only to the agricultural sector. There are a lot of natural resources in Sri Lanka. We have a lot of minerals. We have some of the best the ilmenite in the world, and we export it in raw form to Japan, and they make titanium and other materials through that. So we have some of the best graphite in the world. We have some of the best thorium deposits. I know India also has thorium deposits. So we have a lot of natural resources. We have the very large phosphate deposits. So none of these have been explored yet. And I am it's my personal opinion that we need to start exploring them slowly and in a meaningful way, because there's no point of having a natural resource, and if you don't exploit it at the right time, let's say for example, if you have oil, and maybe in 20 years time or 30 years time, everything will be renewable energy and electric vehicles, and then if you don't exploit oil at this juncture, in 30 years time or 40 years time, there might be no need of oil. So similarly, I am of the opinion that we need to look at exploiting our natural resources in a meaningful way. And certainly now I know one area which we are very interested in is developing the EV batteries. I'm certain that in few years time, in 4 or 5 years time, India also will be a large EV player. So certainly there can be synergies where you produce the cars in India, but even if we can get the battery production done in Sri Lanka, both countries gain, because we have very good graphite and we produce graphene, things such as graphene. So certainly I think there's enough opportunity, but in order for us to even have that opportunity, we need to have macroeconomic stability. And I think after the new president has come into power, that we see that more macroeconomic stability.
Yeah. know that the Palmyra Development Board is a Palmyra trees, palm trees, palm trees, the Palmyra products. Is I think the huge business opportunities are there in Sri Lanka. So it's also going to make a good bridge relationship between India and Sri Lanka. Is it?
Yeah, we have very dynamic chairman also, and Palmyra is mainly cultivated in the northern and the eastern areas. So we are also using a lot of the toddy. Now in Jaffna we are exporting toddy to mainly to the South Asian expats living in those countries, but also
There, right?
I'm
Research
sorry.
also there. Palmyra Research Institute in Jaffna, right?
There's Palmyra Research Institute also in Jaffna, and we also make other products from Palmyra. So we are working. The Palmyra department is working with the private sector in things such as improving the design of some of the products. The products tends to be quite traditional, and sometimes you might need some help in the design when it comes to the design concepts. So we are working with the private sector on that regard. So I think certainly the Palmyra is one area, is one of the many areas where the India and Sri Lanka can build stronger relations.
We also plan to take our artists, culturalists, and writers to bring to Sri Lanka to make a good relationship with the countries. So, shall we proceed for the cultural programs in Sri Lanka with our artists and other things?
Of course, because the Sri Lankan culture and the Indian culture is completely embedded together. It's if you look at, and if you come to Sri Lanka, you see the influence of India all over Sri Lanka. And culturally, I think we are pretty much like one and the same. So many from Sri Lankan teenagers, from Indian music to Indian cinema to Indian fashion and all those things are being looked at. And religion-wise, I think India gave us the greatest gift of all, the Buddhism. So culturally, I think we are very close, and I'm sure that if any let's say any Indian musician comes or any Indian famous Bollywood actor comes, all the stadiums in Sri Lanka will get filled up. But I will be quite interested in developing new areas also, such as like gaming, for example. So now, if you look at things such as the gaming and the creative industry, the creative industry and gaming and all that are also very there's a Western bias to it. They produce the games from all the computer games, and then the Asians they just use the games. It's not the development of let's say gaming in from this part of the world. It tends to be very minimal. So I think there are other areas also which we can, new areas with technology which we can work on, and so there's great opportunity.
So I'm expecting the good news and your special news to our Indians as a State Minister of Foreign Affairs. I request your special news and the great news to our Indians. Give me that message.
I would encourage all Indians to come and visit Sri Lanka. That at the moment, the India has been our big brother, and all they have supported us. But I certainly feel that the Sri Lankan experience is not something that any Indian should miss. It's a beautiful country. Although we are very similar, we are also quite different. When it comes to the food and all that, we tend to be quite different. And it's cheaper sometimes to come from from some cities of from some places of India to Sri Lanka, Colombo. than to go from India to, let's say, the northern India or something. So I really would want to look at, if you look at countries like Mexico, during this the spring break, so many US students come to Mexico for the spring break. And if you look at the country, Indonesia and Bali, so many Australian students, come to the Indonesia or Bali in particular for their holidays. So I think with with India alone, you are seeing a growing middle class in India, and most of the youth, they want to travel. Most of the youth wants to have that experience. It's a completely different generation now. So I think India has been our largest tourist market, but I think, but but I don't think we can still be satisfied, because if you look at the total number of Indians which come and the India's population, I think we can easily bring far more tourism from India. And the Sri Lankan experience is also, you get to see the beaches, and then within maybe 2-3 hours you get to see the hills, and then you can see the cultural tourism, and then we have some of the very good the vibe the parks, including Yala, which has the highest concentration of leopards in the world. And then even if it's something like the marine tourism, we in more towards the North Sri Lanka, we have we have whales and blue whales, and we have dolphins, and so much can be offered for even for marine tourism. So Sri Lanka is definitely an experience that should not be missed. The hospitality of the Sri Lankans is very famous. So I think I would encourage particularly the younger people to hop in a plane and come to Sri Lanka, have the Sri Lankan experience, and I'm sure if they do, they will certainly recommend it to somebody else.
Yeah, and we also cordially invite you to come to our Tamil Nadu as a foreign minister, as our neighbor country, and we would like to invite you with meet our CM, Chief Minister, and even the Prime Minister of India, and our State Minister for Cultural and other diplomats, to make the strong bridge between Sri Lankan and India. So when we expect you to come to India?
I've been to India very many times, and I've been to Tamil Nadu several times. I've been to Delhi, to Bombay, to Rajasthan, and all over. But I haven't been up north. Certainly, India is a fascinating place. It's absolutely fascinating. It's a different world on its own. I love the Indian cuisine, because I particularly like the southern Indian cuisine. Certainly, the next opportunity which is available, I will certainly come to India.
We are eagerly waiting for your great arriving and great relationship, to very long time relationship with India. So thank you, Mr. Balasooriya, to interview with us for your valuable time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.